Let us describe a photograph, and you'll find you already have it in your head. A wooden villa standing on stilts over impossibly clear water. A little deck, a ladder going down into a lagoon the color of a swimming pool that someone has improved. Maybe a hammock strung over the sea. You have seen this picture 1,000 times, and here is the strange thing about it. You cannot tell which resort it is. You cannot tell which island it is. You're not even certain it's a real place rather than a screensaver. And if you have ever thought about going to the Maldives, somewhere underneath the longing, there is usually a small, deflating suspicion, which is this: they all look the same. You're just paying for the brand on the towel. We want to take that worry seriously, because it's a reasonable thing to feel. The Maldives has been photographed into a kind of beautiful sameness. Every island sells you the same blue, the same villa, the same sunset, and the marketing is so polished and so identical that the whole country can start to feel like one resort with 30 different logos. So you look at the prices, which are not small, and you think, are you choosing a holiday or just choosing a price tag? Here is the secret the photographs keep from you. They are not the same. They are wildly, consequentially different from one another, and the difference almost never shows up in the picture. The picture is the one thing they all have in common. Everything that will actually decide whether you love your week or merely tolerate it is happening outside the frame. So this episode is about getting outside the frame. About how to read the Maldives, like someone who knows what they're looking at, so that you choose the right island for the person you actually are. Because that, and not the brand on the towel, is the entire game. Let us start with the thing nobody explains, which is the geography. Because when you say the Maldives, you're not naming a place so much as a scattering. Picture a long, thin string of coral atolls flung across a great stretch of the Indian Ocean. Hundreds of miles of ocean, dotted with little rings of reef. And on some of those reefs, an island barely big enough to hold a resort. There is one airport that matters on the main island near the capital. Your plane lands there. And then, and this is the part the brochures hurry past, you are not there yet. Your island might be 20 minutes away. It might be 150 miles away. And how you cross that gap changes almost everything about your trip. There are essentially 3 ways to get from the airport to your island, and they are not interchangeable. The first is a simple speedboat. If your island is close to the airport, you step off the plane, onto a boat, and you're at the resort in 15 or 30 minutes. Easy, fast, available at any hour, relatively inexpensive. The second is a seaplane, one of those little propeller aircraft on floats. And this is how you reach the islands that are further out. A seaplane is a glorious thing to ride in. You bank low over the atolls, and you finally understand the geography you've been hearing about. The turquoise rings scattered across the dark blue. But a seaplane only flies in daylight. It is expensive, often the single biggest transfer cost of the trip. And if your flight lands in the evening, you may not fly out to your island until the next morning, which can mean a night in a hotel by the airport. The third way, for the islands that are far out but have their own little local airstrip, is a domestic flight followed by a speedboat. You fly an internal hop, land on a regional island, then transfer by boat to the resort. Now, here is why we're spending real time on transfers when you came for villas and snorkeling. Because the transfer is not a detail. The transfer quietly decides three things at once. It decides how much the whole trip costs, because a seaplane can add a serious sum per person, and a simple speedboat adds very little. It decides how long your journey is, whether you're swimming by lunchtime, or whether the travel day eats a chunk of your holiday, and possibly an extra hotel night. And it decides which islands are even available to you in the first place. Because if you land at night and you refuse to lose a day, the far-flung seaplane islands quietly take themselves off your list. We have watched people fall in love with an island from a photograph, book it, and only discover on arrival that getting to it cost them a dawn flight, a 4-hour wait, and a small fortune they hadn't budgeted. None of that was in the picture. All of it was in the geography. So you decide the transfer first, or at least alongside everything else, not last. Right. You've understood the map. Now let's talk about how you actually choose the island, because this is where the real differences live. And there are 4 of them we want you to hold in your head. The first is the house reef. This is, to our mind, the single most underrated question in the entire Maldives. And it's the one almost no one asks. The house reef is the coral reef that belongs to your island. And the crucial question is whether you can walk off your own beach, put your face in the water, and be among the fish in 30 seconds. On some islands you can. The reef is right there, alive, a wall of colour, a short swim from your villa, and you'll find yourself snorkeling twice a day because it costs nothing and asks nothing. On other islands, the reef is poor, or it's far out, or the lagoon is beautiful but empty. And to see anything, you have to book a boat and be taken somewhere. Both can be wonderful trips. But if the reef is the reason you're going, if you picture yourself drifting over coral every morning, then an island with a great house reef is not a nice to have. It's the whole point, and it's invisible in every photograph, because turquoise water looks identical, whether it's teeming or barren. The second thing is the island's personality, and this is where people most often get it wrong, because they choose the picture instead of the temperament. Maldivian islands have very distinct characters. Some are barefoot and quiet. You don't wear shoes. There are 40 villas. The loudest sound is the sea, and you will speak to almost no one. Some are lively and social, with bars and a beach club energy, and other people around, which is wonderful if you want it, and grating if you don't. Some are built around families, with a kids' club and a shallow beach, and the cheerful background noise of children, which is heaven if you've brought your own, and a quiet horror if you've come for a honeymoon. And some are adults only, which is heaven for the honeymoon, and not an option at all if you've brought the children. The blue water is the same on every one of them. The experience could not be more different. Match the island's temperament to your own and to who you're traveling with before you fall for the deck and the ladder. The third thing sounds boring and is in fact one of the most important decisions you'll make. It's dining, and specifically the board basis. Here's why it matters so much in the Maldives, in a way it never does in a city. You are on a tiny island. There is no walking into town for dinner, because there is no town. There is no other restaurant down the road, because there is no road. Whatever the resort serves is, very nearly, all there is. So the question of whether you book room only, or half board, breakfast and dinner, or full board, or fully all-inclusive, is not a small budgeting note. It's the difference between a relaxed week and a running tab that ambushes you at checkout, because on a remote island, drinks and meals carry remote island prices, and they add up with astonishing speed. As a rough rule, the further out and more isolated the island, the more an inclusive arrangement protects you, both from the bill and from the low-grade anxiety of watching it grow. The closer in islands, where you have a little more choice, can reward a lighter board. But decide it deliberately. Don't let it be the thing you discover. And the fourth thing is size and privacy. How big the island is, how many villas it holds, how much of the sea feels like it's yours. A small island with few villas feels intimate and a little marooned in the best way. A large island with many villas feels more like a small town, with more to do and more people to do it near. Neither is better. They're different moods. Know which mood you came for. Which brings us, at last, to the villa itself, the overwater villa in the photograph that started all of this. Let us be honest about it, because the romance is real, but so is the trade-off. The overwater villa is genuinely magical. You step off your own deck into the lagoon. You watch rays glide under the floorboards through a glass panel. It is the most photographed room in tropical travel for a reason. But it is hot often because it's sitting out over open water with the sun on it all day and little shade. It usually has no real beach. You have a ladder into the sea, not sand under your feet. And it is, frankly, not built for children, because there is open water directly off the deck. The overwater villa is, in its bones, a room for two adults in love. For a honeymoon, it can be perfect. The beach villa is the quieter, less glamorous sibling, and for a great many travelers, it's the better room. It sits on the sand, under palms, with shade and space, and your own stretch of beach a few steps from the door. It's cooler. It's more private in the way that matters when you want to disappear. And it's far safer and saner with children, who can run from the room to the shallows without anyone holding their breath. The beach villa rarely makes the brochure cover. It very often makes the better week. So the honest framing is this: overwater for romance, for the two of you, for the picture you've always wanted. Beach for families, for shade, for space, for actually living there rather than posing in it. Some people split the difference and do a few nights of each, which we rather like, because you get the fantasy and then you get the rest. The last variable is when you go, and the Maldives essentially has two seasons. There's the dry season, the high season, calm seas, clear water, blue skies, the postcard delivered exactly as promised. And it costs the most, and the best islands sell out far ahead. And there's the green season, lower prices, a lusher, moodier beauty, warm water still, but with more rain, sometimes heavy and sudden, sometimes for an hour, and then gone, and occasionally seaweed drifting onto the beaches on certain currents. The green season is not the washout people fear. The rain often comes in bursts, and the savings can be substantial. But it's a genuine trade. Pay more for near certainty, or pay less and accept some weather. For a honeymoon where the weather carries the whole mood, we lean toward the dry season, if it's at all possible. For a family trip, where you're going to be in and out of the pool regardless, and the budget is doing real work, the green season can be a quietly brilliant decision. So let us hand you something practical to carry, because all of this only helps if you can use it. When someone asks us how to choose a Maldivian island, we tell them to ask 5 plain questions, in this order. First, how do you get there? And what does that transfer cost you in money, in time, and in which islands are even possible? Second, do you want to snorkel off your own beach? And if you do, does this island actually have a living house reef? Third, what is this island's personality? And does it match yours and the people you're bringing? Quiet or lively? Or built for children? Or only for adults? Fourth, what does dining cost you once you're marooned out there? And what board basis protects you? And fifth, overwater for romance, or beach villa for space and family? And which season are you willing to pay for? Answer those 5 honestly, and the 30 identical photographs sort themselves into the 2 or 3 islands that are genuinely right for you, and the rest fall away. This is, as it happens, exactly the work we do at JMJ Experiences. We don't start with the villa, we start with you, and then we match you to the right atoll and the right island, the one whose reef and temperament and transfer actually fit the trip you're imagining. If you'd like to sit with these ideas a little longer, there's a companion piece in our journal at jmjexperiences.com/journal that lays the questions out island by island. Next time, we leave the water entirely and go somewhere that confuses almost everyone who hasn't been. Dubai, a city that is far stranger, older, and more rewarding than its skyline lets on. Until then, we hope your next afternoon is a slow one.